Today we're going to put together a Move bumper for a 2013 Suburban 2500. Got over here. Alright, Move is a company that builds a do-it-yourself steel plate bumper kit. It's 3/16 steel. I've got it sort of laid out the way it's going to go together. It's a Prerunner Precision series, so it's got the 2.5 inch main tube, 2 inch side tubes, and it's got this cut. It's a little bit lighter weight looking bumper than their standard design. So what we got to do first is pull all that front off of this Suburban. One thing I really didn't notice when I set this all up is I'm going to have to cut right along that line between the bumper and the grill. So once you start, you're kind of committed to finishing. So here we go. We'll get started. Alright, we're going to start with taking out screws here, 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 and here. They're 10 millimeter. I'm going to use my DeWalt. We're going to pull that off, then we're going to move to the wheel wells. I'm going to pull the inner fender wells out completely because I need to trim them anyway. So that's what we're going to do right now. Luckily, when I bought this truck, the shipper ran it into another car on the trailer and popped out half of my rivets on my bumper. So I've got another rivet down here. We're going to use a rivet pull tool, and then a 7 millimeter socket is going to remove this one here, and then there's a couple more in the back of the fender well. So we're going to do that real quick. That's a trim removal tool. I'm going to use it as a rivet pulling tool. Same thing. So you just stick it in there between the inner fender well and the bumper, pop it out. There's also a different kind of rivet. So this is a standard just press to fit type plastic rivet. And then here in the back, like I said, you don't have to pull these fender wells out, but I'm going to. In the back we have this style where you pull the center section out. And once you get that out, what it's going to do is basically retract 2 fingers. Then you can pull this out. And that's what the other style looks like. Right there. Alright, so we'll pull out the rest of these 7 millimeters. We got another simple right here, and then we'll back it up. And that's all you have to do is just do a bumper. You got to do that. One more circle up here on the left, and then go over to the left. Alright. We've got all kinds of... Oh, another one. Alright. Looks like 3 were hidden up in here. I probably saw that one before and forgot about it. Okay, there we go. And now you have wire looms. See, I don't know if you can see it or not. I don't know if it'll change its white balance, but you got wire looms attached to this. So you got to pull those off, and then out comes the fender well. All right, we'll go do it on the other side as well. I won't talk on that side, but I'll make it where you can at least see it. Hey. Alright, we've got 2 10 millimeters we need to remove under here on each side. So knock this out real quick, and I think that'll do it for all the physical connections. One's way down here, just basically behind this fog light location. Okay, turns out mine was already broken on the other side, so just had to remove one of them. And the one we had already removed. The outboard one over here was actually just connected to the inner fender well, and we already removed that one. Alright, so now, you see I accidentally already did it, but basically you pull outward like that, and that pops out this little locating tab. You can do that on the other side as well. Now this whole thing should come off. There it is. Next we're going to remove that push bar assembly right there. Okay, that turned out to be 21 millimeter for that, and I'm just going to use an adjustable wrench on the other side. If I can find what I did with it. Looks like I'm going to have to move that tow hook also. Let's do the tow hook first, because that gets in the way. Taking off the bumper. That one looks like an 18. It is. Spray some anti-corrosion stuff on here, but you don't need to see that. Next we'll be putting on the brackets for mounting this bumper. Okay, now we have to remove this foam insert. Use a square drive. It's probably the biggest square drive you can find. It's just got these little really coarse thread foam screws. We've got to get that out because we're going to cut right at the joint between the bumper and the grill assembly. And it would probably help if I took these inserts out. I really don't want to though. But it might be worth it. Although I think I can do it. Do that or I'm going to strip this out trying. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to take it out because I can't get to these. Alright, grab a screwdriver. Alright, now we get to cut this thing off. And I'm going to leave a little extra, just about ½ an inch, because I can always trim it off later, and I've made the mistake of cutting too much off in the past. Okay, this is I think it's a roto-zip bit. I think it's for drywall or something like that, but anyway, I use it for plastic all the time, works pretty good. So I'm going to trim just about a ½ inch from that curve there. I can always take off more if I need to later. Okay, got it back in place. I'm going to zip it back down with our drill. 6 10mm bolts go back in. These are our bumper brackets down here. It appears that they go something like this, and then like this. You can see that. Let me see that a little bit. I'm guessing something like that, according to the pictures in the manual. But that doesn't look super stable to me, so I might have to cut that off, or I don't know, do something. So we'll move on, see if that's right. We'll take a look at some things, see if I can figure it out. Okay, this is kind of what I've come up with as far as mounting these brackets. I'm not real fond of the fit. I really want this lower bracket sitting all the way down in the bottom of the frame rail. It's got about an 1/8 or 1/4 inch gap. See if I can get you down there. You can see how it's got a gap there. I think that if we can get that to sit down on there, we're going to have a lot better transfer of the weight to the frame as opposed to just relying on that bolt. And then this top one, it's got this boss from the old bumper that it used to sit around, and it's sitting up on top of that. I don't like that either. So I took some pictures of it and I've got it sent in to Move. We're going to see if they come back with any advice. But just looking at it, you can tell I don't think this face is going to line up with this face. It looks like the bottom is sucked way in. So maybe I'm supposed to use the rearmost hole. I don't know. We're going to take a look. I'm going to try to hold it up there, see what we got. Okay, I took the top bracket off just because it was obvious that it was not going to be in the right spot. It looks pretty low. I'm thinking it's supposed to be out something like this. In which case those frame brackets don't line up with anything. Okay. Maybe they're supposed to go up here. We'll try that. Okay, my guess is that the 2500 must be a little bit different than the other Suburbans. I've got about a 1.25 inch gap here. And that's with the top frame mount sitting on top of that frame horn for the bumper. That little boss that the factory push bar sat on top of. My lower ones don't seem to fit anywhere. So, got an email in to Move to try to figure this out. Right this instant, I'm not feeling super confident about these frame brackets. We might have to end up building our own. I hope not. That's, the part we want to avoid. It needs to be essentially 1.5 inches higher. I assume the bumper goes over the top of this, but I could be wrong about that. And if it comes up to it, what we'll do is scribe a line across it. Once it's in place, and then we'll come back and recut this flat to wrap around it. But you can see we're not very close to being in a position on that headlight, which is going to get me in a lot of trouble when my wife gets home today and I haven't fixed this. She wasn't really on board with it to begin with. So, anyway, let's hope we come up with a solution. I'm going to keep working it. I may tack that wing on just to see. Really no point. Okay, here's what I got so far. I've got this sitting on an 1.5 inch rectangular tube spacer on the factory brackets. I don't like the way the brackets are fitting. So I'm probably going to drill it out so that it sits down over that boss, and then I'll have a 1/4 inch, probably 3-inch square tube sitting on top, so I can bring this up another 1.5 inches from where it sits now, which will put the bumper right at the bottom of here, top of it. But I'm going to drill that thing out, which should drop it 1/4 inch. So I should have just a little bit of lip here when I cut that off. These angles aren't really matching up all that well, as you can tell. It seems like this needs a little more bend to it. I don't know if you can see that in the video or not. And it looks like it needs to angle back a little more too. Because once this wing is up, you can see it splays out a little bit. So this thing's got to be driven back. How far? Oh, about 2 inches farther in, which is going to open up this gap here by, let's see what distance that is. Probably 1 inch, 3/4 of an inch, something like that. It's not going to, well, maybe not that much. Probably maybe 3/4 of an inch. So we're going to have to figure that all out. Maybe have to trim some off of here. I don't know what we're going to do. Anyway, we're gonna get the middle piece of the bumper secured in place and new brackets built before we worry about anything else. Because without that, we can't move forward anyway. So there's no sense in welding parts on. Okay, so we're gonna go to the store and get some 3-inch square tube. Okay, well, we're working on a solution for the brackets that aren't fitting. I went ahead and leveled the truck. I leveled it up here. I also leveled the cross member down below. That's pretty level. Of course, how you hold the level on all these plastic parts really matters. So that's level. This is showing level. You don't really need to level it because you're just squaring it to the truck. But if you have a level, if you're starting from level, it's a whole lot easier to check it. You don't have to keep measuring. You can just check level. We're good. Everything else works out. What I also need to do, scribe a line on here right at the top level of this bumper plate. I cut some spacers that are 2 7/16 tall out of wood, just to aid in tacking on these first brackets, the upper brackets. And these are, again, 2 7/16 high. You could probably adjust it to whatever you want to make it, but I think 2 7/16 is going to be what's required to get these wings to line up on these headlights. And even then, we might have to trim them out a little bit. I think that'll work pretty good, though. Of course, this will slide back in there a little bit farther. So that's looking pretty good. Move Bumpers offered to make new lower brackets for me, but rather than wait, I think I'm just going to get some square tubing that'll fit in the frame rail and extend it out, cut it to the bevel on that old frame bracket, and go from there. I'll let you know as soon as I get going on it. I'm kind of sick, so it might not be today. But we'll keep knocking it out, and hopefully this will be done quicker than later. Okay, so just a lot of back and forth. Got this thing centered this direction. And took his level and held it flat to the side of the frame rail down there. And I measured from this point here out to the edge of the level, and it was a 1/4 inch on each side, almost exactly. So it's a 1/4 inch inside of the frame rail on both sides. We can recheck level, make sure that looks good. It's a little high over here, so I'll check it underneath. There's no real good place to check it. It looks like it's leaning the same direction up here on the top, so what we'll redo is we'll measure, like say from this corner up to the corner of the headlight or something like that on both sides, and see if that number is the same. And if it is, we can tack these brackets in. As you can see, sitting on top of our block, what we'll do is we'll just put a tack right there in the corner, down here in the corner, and on the other side. We also check to make sure these are square. These brackets are square with the back side of the plate of the faceplate of the bumper. So far, it's not going together exactly like it was supposed to, but it is going together. See if I can get you down there where you can see the bracketry. So, ordinarily this would go down in this bend right here, but it's just not going to work out that way. So, Alright, we'll do some more measuring before we tack it. Everything measured good. It was 13 3/4 from the corner here up to the point of the headlight. Doesn't really matter where you measure to as long as it's something that's symmetric and that you can repeat. Alright, so it's level on the top. All the measurements are the same. We're going to put a tack right here. I've already tacked the other side, so it shouldn't go anywhere. But before you do, just make sure everything's pushed up where it needs to be. Alright, and we've got a tack there and there. Pretty much all you need for what we're doing now. I'm going to come in and put a 3-inch square tube inside of this frame rail here, have it come out and push right against the lower plate of this thing. And then we'll probably do some sort of gusseting between the two to give you some strength out here at the point. Alright, next we'll be getting some square tubing to build that lower bracket. Still haven't had a chance to get to the store to get the 3-inch square tube. But after tacking that first piece in, I decided to go ahead and tack this wing and corner piece on. I think it's wing 1 and wing 2 they call that. I haven't done the filler piece yet, but it's actually coming out pretty good. You can see that edge is about the same. It looks like it's sagging in the back, so what I'm going to do is when I build the lower bracket, I'll use it to draw this portion of the bumper back towards the truck, which should bring the back corner up in here up to meet that fender. It's got a little bit of a gap, but I think again we can twist that bumper once we get it all braced in there. Alright, so that's as far as we got so far. Okay, I did the final trimming on the grill. Well, I've got this thing up in place. You can see that scribing it with a screwdriver and then just cutting it with the Dremel worked pretty good. Then I ran it across. I have a big belt sander, stationary belt sander that I laid it across just to smooth out the edge, and it worked out pretty good. I just have it laying up there. It should have about an 1/8 inch gap, maybe a 1/16 inch gap, and then I'll reinforce it somehow from behind. Okay, here's what we've got. I got some 3-inch square tube. Should fit inside this frame rail here. You can't see that, can you? So right inside this lower portion of the frame. I've got a little angle matcher here. We've got that set up for the approximate angle at which it's going to intersect this lower plate. We do need to draw it in just a little bit. This area needs to go back just a little bit to make that other side of the frame, the bumper level. So what we're going to do is cut it off at that angle. Then we're going to measure how far back it can go just to get to this hole. So we want to come back to about here. We don't need to go all the way back in there because there is a cross member that we're going to run into. So take a quick measurement. We're going to measure the longest it can be. If I can find my tape measure. And again, all we got to do is go past this hole a little bit, just so that it doesn't pull out. So that's hitting on the cross member. Looks like around 12 and 3/4. Probably 12 3/4 inch will be the longest dimension with that angle sloped back on this pipe. And of course it's like 20 degrees or something, so I probably won't be able to cut it on the chop saw. I'll probably have to cut it with a torch. Anyway, it's the next step. Is cutting that off. We're going to have 2 of them, so we're going to go ahead and make 2 at the same time so we don't have to sit there and change everything up and do it twice in a row. So, alright, we'll get over to cutting. "28 degrees. Okay, we've got this, we had to take the bumper loose to get these in. This is the piece we cut. You can see our angle's pretty close, but it's going to intersect this flat part, so we're going to have to trim off this much. We need to measure parallel how much distance it looks. Looks like about a 1/2 inch, maybe 3/4. So we'll do it like right there to see how far it needs to go. And then we'll cut off the nose of both of these. We might even be able to do it in place, which would save us some time. Okay, we've got to dog ear this one right here. And then we got to take this lip off right there. And it should all match up. We got to do that on both sides. These lower mounts are kind of being a total pain. So just be aware if you got a 2500, the kit's not going to fit. It'll fit the body, but it won't fit exactly like it's supposed to, and the lower mounts are completely not usable on a 2500. So just be aware of that. But other than that, it's not a big deal to make new ones. But it does take. I'll probably spend more time building these lower brackets than I have on the whole bumper. So just be aware of that. Okay, we've got these tacked in place. I'm going to go ahead and finish weld them now so that we have a nice solid base to work from, and we can bolt it down and pull on it and twist on it all we need to without worrying about breaking the mounts loose. So that's what we're going to do now. Okay, we've got this thing tacked up in place. 5/8 of an inch gap along the side is what I used. This one came out pretty level. And I did drill the holes for those bolts. So I'm going to bolt in there. I used the factory bolts. I had to buy nuts for them and Fastenal. But you can see it doesn't quite fit together like a puzzle, but I guess those gaps are there to give you some wiggle room, you know, because everything's a little bit different on everybody's car, I suppose. And you can see this one does stick out just a little bit farther, so I may give that one a tug, pull it forward just a touch. It'll close up that gap there, so I might need to cut that one tack in the middle. So there we go. I'm going to start putting some heavier tacks on this, and then I've got to do the pre-runner bars. Okay, we've got this thing up into position, showing a 5/8 inch gap all the way around. I might fill that, but I doubt it. I think that's good enough. I could probably stuff some weather stripping of some sort in there if I want to make it look like it's finished. I finished welded this front part, so just got to grind that. Get down to the lower part also. These didn't fit great, so what I'm going to do is take and grind that right across this plane. So I'll actually grind way down into that weld. Try to make that go away. So I'm going to finish weld as much as I can on the truck, and then I'm going to pull it off, turn it over, weld the back side of it. And then I guess it's ready to go to powder coat. Oh, wait, I got to do the pre-runner bumpers, or the pre-runner tubes. Got to do that too. Oh, forgot about that. All right, so I'm going to finish weld what I got here, and then do the pre-runner part. Oh, I got to put these wings in too. Forgot about that. Okay, I'll get back to you. Okay, got these little small wings in place and held them in place. Hold them in place with a magnet. I got a little bit of a gap that I can fill there. The same kind of gap over here, and then afterwards I guess we'll just cut the rest of that out or grind the rest of that smooth. It'll be a lot of grinding, which is unfortunate, but that's the deal. Name of the game. All right, here we go. I'm gonna tack them in place. We had to trim this down and then cope that thing to fit, or bevel it to fit. That wasn't exactly easy because there's nothing good to measure off of. So measured it at 30 degrees to get this angle right, going that direction, and then I raked it back, maybe 15 degrees. I just kind of had to freehand that with a torch, or just putting it in the chop saw kind of at an angle. Not the prettiest job in the world, but it'll clean up. And that's for the 2.5 inch middle one. So what I did is, again, I leveled the truck, leveled the bumper, so then all I had to do was level this right across there, tack it in place over here, measure this distance, make it the same over there, all while leveling here, tack it in, and we're good. All right, now we got to do the support arms on the side of the side bars, whatever they're called. Okay, got these coped on. It was a little more difficult than I'd imagined. You just had to go back and forth, and I'm a little bit of a gap on the backside. I'm gonna have to fill that. This one came out a little bit better. But you just got to go back and forth with the torch until you get it right. All right, we're going to finish weld that stuff in, and then take it off and weld the insides. Okay, we got it all welded up for the most part. My machine gets hot and starts welding like total crap. So I got to let it cool down, and then we're going to do a whole lot of grinding. So this will be a grinding project as much as a welding project, unfortunately. So anyway, there it is. I hope that was some help to somebody out there. I'm going to take this to get powder coated maybe next week, so finish up the video and I'll get it up there after I get a good video of it after powder coating and it's on the truck. Here it is, all ground and sanded up. I'm going to take it up to have it powder coated today, so they're going to sandblast it and powder coat. So there it is. Hopefully next video will be all powder coated on the truck. You can see that's the bracketry I ended up going with, 2500 Suburban.